Hi, I'm Bran, and I love The Way Home.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I like The Way Home.
I'm Dan. I despise The Way Home, and this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Sorry.
I'm glad I was alone out there on a ledge. No, it's not on you.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Sorry, everybody. I was thinking about the way that you said I like The Way
Yeah,
Home.
it was
and
a
I was
big
trying
pause.
to...
Ryan likes to read a lot into my intros.
Yeah.
But he's putting a little extra
A
sauce
little
on
extra
his.
stank on it.
A little sauce.
A little
It's a
sauce.
mystery show. We like to give.
It's a mystery show. It's a mystery how it's on the air.
What's your favorite sauce?
Hot.
Hot sauce is great. What kind of hot sauce you going with?
So actually, just last night I felt bad. So I am just like I'm happy with Frank's.
Frank's is the standard. It's the
Yeah.
standard bearer.
So I recently I said, you know what? Because I have a really good spice tolerance. So I said, let me finally try Frank's extra hot.
Extra hot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this is odd. I douse my salads with hot sauce.
Okay. I make
I
a
love
spicy Caesar salad from time to time. Little Caesar salad with some
I
Frank's.
just if Alyssa makes a salad, I just put hot sauce on it. It's great. It's one of my favorite things. And there was a little salad left, and I just doused the bowl. It was just the big bowl left, and I put the extra hot on there, and that's what I'd been doing. And then Alyssa didn't see that, and she took a couple bites.
Oh,
and
no.
It's on video, and it was a rough time for her. Yeah, I don't think she wants me to share the video, but it was her tolerance for hot is not what it should be, much less extra
what it
hot.
should be.
What it should
Ryan
be.
has a standard of how much heat you can take for the women that he dates, and Alyssa's didn't meet it. But
She's even lucky she gets to be in the
That's right.
same room with you.
He
without
gave
poor
her a pass.
Yeah.
I saw what I said.
Can I tell you what I think about Frank's Extra Hot? Is the heat is fine. I don't like the flavor as much.
So I'm glad you said that, because I finally tried a couple years ago Shake Shack. They did the hot ones gimmick.
That's right.
Shake
And
Shack.
I'll be honest, it was too hot for me. But my biggest complaint with the final dab was that it didn't taste like anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
know?
Once you get past a certain point, it no longer tastes like
And
it.
that's not me trying to sound tough. It was also
No.
too hot for me.
No,
But,
there are
like,
some
you
things
know,
that are too spicy for me, but I love spicy food as long as it tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, so I can be at, and even there's times when I'm putting too much extra hot on the salad, and then I'm having a rough time. But I'm actually opposite to you, that I still feel like as though I'm getting a nice, flavorful experience, much like here with you two boys. Every
Douse the salad, get right on a plane. It's just lights out for
forget
Ryan.
it.
Oh, I would never. I would. I mean,
gotta-
like I'll miss half the marathon if you do that.
Have you ever de-bombed or no?
No,
It tastes terrible.
Or you've tasted de-bomb?
Yeah, I would never use it regularly. It's too spicy, but it tastes terrible.
Yeah, that's what
Have
they
we
say.
done the ghost pepper chips, the Carolina ghost?
No,
peppers?
I've
I've not
never
done
did
the
that.
chips.
No.
I have a ghost pepper sauce at the house that I like, but it's probably just got a little bit in it because the flavor's great on it. And then we bought that seasoning at Christmas Con that I use from time to time.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
And I bought one of them. The Army color I bought is real spicy.
Yeah.
And that's just for nobody else in my family's dealing with that one. That one's just for me. So
it's a good seasoning.
I love
wish
spicy.
I remember this the company.
I do
you
too. We
remember?
could have shouted them out. They're
Shout out.
in the
Shout out.
cupboard
Shout
right now. I could
Shout out to them.
Shout
Run
out to
into the
them.
cupboard. I'm gonna do the synopsis. You run to
run
your
to the
cupboard.
cupboard, man. If I thought I could make it back in time, that'd be great. But there's no way I could.
Well, there's a lot to get to today, so shall we?
Let's do it, everybody.
Shall we, Ryan?
It all matters and makes sense.
We shall. What was the name of this episode, Brand?
Thanks for asking. I was actually gonna ask you the same thing. What do you think it's called?
Ain't no sunshine.
No, I think
that
was
was
a couple
last
weeks
week
ago.
or 2 weeks ago. You're just,
Well,
you know.
I'm technically not wrong.
We are the Titans.
Ooh. It is Tell Me Something Good,
Okay.
Oh.
Tell me something good.
which is why I've been singing that song today.
I'm off the deep end, traveling in the pond. Oh no, it's 1800.
February 14th, 2025. Y'all went out, you did your Valentine fun times, and you came back and you said,
Did your Valentine's fun time?
you said, give me the way home. Give it to me now. And it went a little something like this. Cat is, as you remember last week, ended with, I killed Dad! Remember that? So Kat is now
Emmy.
explaining herself. Kat is telling Dell about how she didn't listen to Elliot, who told her that she can't change the past. So she went back and she tried to change the past, and she didn't listen, and then went out, and then she caused a crash. That's what she's saying. Dell leaves. She just doesn't really respond and just leaves. Alice, who's listening in, goes to check on Mom and is like, why didn't you tell the whole story about how it was me out there and you went and you pushed me out? And she's like, didn't need to know that. Didn't need to know that. Alice, feeling emotional, heads back to her emotional safe space of the 1970s. And she gets right in there, right as the Watergate news is breaking. Bill, scandal.
Yeah, that's
we don't
right.
want any pushback. Right. She immediately shows her, basically like shows her hand and like showcases that she knows about the secret messages that Colton left in books. And he's like, how'd you know that? And she's like, I don't know. Alice comes back and goes to talk to Dell, encouraging her to talk to Kat and to make things right. Kat is tries to jump back into the 1800s to convince Jacob to come home, but the pawn doesn't take him. Dell is talking to Sam and asks why he was hanging around with Casey Goodwin. He explains that Casey's a client. They showed up one day asking for legal advice. Casey called the other day, said they were in town, so I wanted to go hang out. Dell is like, well, why did someone that young need legal advice? And he says,
attorney-client privilege.
I can't answer that. Come on. Alice goes to Lingermore to work on the project with Max. She immediately is like, hey, let's go to the attic. And he's like, no one's been up there for decades. And she replies, then let's do this. Let's be the ones. Jacob powwows with Susanna and Thomas back in the 1800s. And she says that she knows that Kat fights for those that she loves. She would love for you to come back home. She encourages him to go back home and to talk to Kat and to make things right. But then Cyrus shows up and he's not thrilled about what's going on there. So Jacob goes and jumps into the pond to come home, and Thomas tries to jump in too. It does not work. Pond don't like Thomas. Alice looks into the secret door that's in the attic of Lingermore and finds an old cell phone and a bishop chess piece. Max is very confused as to how she knew about this, and then gets irrationally mad at her when she brings up his grandma. Alice then goes and tells Dell the truth about who was in the road that night, and Dell actually handles it pretty great. Nick is still in town. Remember Nick?
Yeah.
Remember Nick? And is pushing for everybody to come together for karaoke night. Nick's my guy. Alice.
All right, Nick.
Alice shows Kat what she found, and Kat says that she thinks Casey was squatting in the attic of Lingermore last year. Casey walks by and is like, hello, here I am. I am back for today. We were driving by.
Through town.
And no, you don't know. It was me, and that's just, I had some situation going on with my family, and that was like place that I hung out and all this stuff. But also I got to go. Family's waiting for me. Dell gets another mysterious letter saying that they know the truth. Who are these letters coming from? She finally tells her friend about it, and she's like, it's probably Sam, the person that you least suspect. It's time for karaoke. Nick signs Kat and Elliot up to sing, and they're singing a little Fleetwood Mac, and then Dell shows up. Kat goes and they give each other a big hug. They make up, and Dell says that she wants to jump in the pond to try to go find Jacob.
Go!
We're doing it.
But we're not
Jacob
doing it.
walks in. He's back. So no need at all.
Scratch that.
Scratch
Man.
that. Elliot tells Kat that his ex-wife kissed him and that he kissed her back. She doesn't love that. So she leaves and she jumps back to the 1800s and just kisses Thomas real good. So
They did Valentine stuff, and
they
now
did
they're back on the way
Valentine's.
home.
They did Valentine.
Real good.
Kissed real good. Sometimes you find out that the person you're dating kissed somebody else, so you just go and
You
you
go
make
kiss
out with
somebody real good.
in the 1800s.
That'll show him.
That's exactly right.
This guy's been dead for 200 years.
Mm-hmm. Alice jumps back to the 70s to watch Colton say goodbye to Dell for, she was just there for the summer. She ends up leaving, and we find out that he was planning on proposing to her, but didn't get around to it. Womp womp. Jacob goes to put on Colton's record when he sees a picture of young Colton, similar to how we've seen him in the 1970s, and he says, hey, that's the guy. That's the boy that came to the farm in the 1800s and told us what to plant. All right.
He told us what to plant.
Kat tells Elliot that she needs some space. I already did that. Alice gets back from the 70s and sees Casey. She asks Casey about the ring that she wears on the necklace, and Casey says it's a family ring, and Alice asks, Goodwin family? And Casey says, no. And then they start running off. Alice runs after them. Casey jumps into the pond, does not come back up. And that, my friends, was
The Way Home, Season 3, Episode 7. Tell me something, pond.
Ain't no sunshine.
When she's gone.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back.
The Titans.
Nice, dude. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get to Episode 7 of Season 3 here on Deck the Hallmark. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
We're talking about The Way Home, Season 3, Episode 7. Tell me something good. Let's break it down. We're going to start with our hot take. It is where we share exactly how we felt about this episode. We're not going to hold back, and I will start with you, Ryan. Ryan, you've been a little bit discouraged the past couple weeks.
I would never get that amount of leeway if I said what he said.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling this week?
So this is Episode 7 of The Way Home, Season 3.
And we have 10 total, right?
Actually, I was going to ask, that's a great question. I was going to ask that, Brand. Do we know if it's 10?
I'm pretty sure it's 10.
I think it's 10.
My assumption has been that it's 10. But this is Episode 7.
Yeah, it's 10.
For those scoring at home, I thought the first 3 were pretty good. I thought the last 3 have gotten progressively worse, where I called last week, I believe, abysmal.
Yeah.
So if this was Game 7, it would be 3-3.
Okay, sure. I see how you're doing this.
Wow,
I like this
that's
episode of The Way
generous.
Home. I like this episode of The Way Home. There's some negatives, and I'll talk about those. But I thought that this had better writing. There was a few actually funny moments. It felt more focused. Now, it felt more focused at the expense of a ton of stuff making sense.
Yes.
So to say, a lot of moments didn't feel earned. I have a lot of questions. I don't want to kill my wait what's right now, but just for example, the biggest one for me is I really started thinking about Season 2 halfway through this episode, which was unfortunate because I thought it wasn't very good.
Oh no.
But was there this overwhelming sense of grief since I believe Season 1, Episode 8 or 9, where Kat and Alice accidentally kill Pappolla?
No, there's no grief at all until this just now.
Right. And so all of that felt, if I'm looking at this in a vacuum, I think this episode has to be viewed in a vacuum because in a vacuum, a lot of things happened that I thought were pretty good. But it's tough. And this is where Dan's going to say, you can't look at Game 7, Ryan.
Can you imagine picking an episode of Lost out and just viewing it in a vacuum, Ryan? No.
But I almost feel as though I'm approaching this with the clean slate that I wanted to approach the season with.
Okay.
And the last 3 episodes, here's what I genuinely imagine is happening. And I don't want to sound arrogant because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I've never written an episode of television in my life, and I probably never will. But I imagine in this writer's room, they're coming up with what they believe to be tons of great ideas. And instead of mapping those ideas out over 5 or 6 seasons, they, for whatever reason, put all of them in the last 3 episodes of the show. And now I actually feel as though they've created a roadmap, for the last 3 episodes, we believe, of this season. And I feel though the seeds they planted this week could actually pay off to some very interesting television. But it's just complicated by the fact that as much as I liked everything that happened in this episode, it didn't really have to do with anything of the last 3 weeks. I don't know how much of the last 3 weeks will even come up. And then even the few things that do intersect, again, don't feel earned. But like Jacob realizing Colton in the 1800s, that's really interesting. Casey actually being in the show and they having something to do, interesting. I have a lot of questions about Casey and nearly nude Sam, but we have the wait what, and we'll talk about that later.
Out.
So I will stop short of saying this is a total return to form.
It is not a we're back, baby.
Yeah, no, and maybe I am being too generous, but by the end of this episode, for the first time in 4 weeks, I said, oh, that felt like a pretty competent, interesting. It had me a couple weeks ago, the three of us, I think it was episode 3, we were talking about all these different elements to the show and mysteries.
And I was even optimistic in episode 3.
We weren't sold on the show, but we said if we're asking questions and hypothesizing, that means that the show is probably doing more right than wrong. That's what I did at the end of this episode. So for me, this episode did more right than wrong. So I liked it.
Brandon. Okay.
I like what you said. That's nice. Vacuums. What's your favorite vacuum?
Probably Hoover, right?
Dyson. Gotta be guys. Dyson makes the best.
Big ones.
What's your beef with Hoover?
I mean, Hoover's great. Dyson makes the best. I mean, I don't own a Dyson. They're $600, but I've used a Dyson. They're the best vacuum cleaner. It's not even close. Like, guys.
Mine's a Moon Jar.
A Moon Jar.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Up and comer.
Wow.
So there is a lot in this episode that there's lots to like, I think. There's also some like nightmares. Like there is a scene that happens in the 1800s where none of the main characters are in it. Yep. Like, and I don't know if it's ever happened before. Have we ever had a scene in this show that doesn't at least involve Kat, Alice,
Elliot,
or Del?
I think so.
You think so?
I think several in season 2. There were some scenes with the other 1800 characters.
Yeah, it's probably possible last season.
1800s with just Jacob, Thomas, and Susanna. Hard pass for me.
And it's Cyrus and the old guy.
Cyrus shows up doing Cyrus stuff. Nightmare material. But I do appreciate some of the things that they're setting up for the rest of the season. And I feel like a broken record at this point because it's the second season in a row. Would I rather the things that they're setting up have happened in like episode 2 of the season? Yes. There's been so much talk of Casey. I honestly couldn't believe Casey appeared.
It was unbelievable.
At this point, I thought Casey was a ghost. So
that's Casey's music.
That's Casey.
Is that Casey coming in with a chair?
Nice. So yeah, I overall lots for me to cling on to and give me hope, but it's not a we're back, baby. We'll see what next week holds. I think next week could be a we're back, baby. But very intrigued with the Casey of it all. Casey diving into the pond, not coming back up, I think obviously proves not a good win, lying about identity, all that stuff, because time traveler. So that's interesting.
Goodwins can time travel.
I thought it was only...
No, Elliot's time traveled. Everybody's time traveled, bro.
Yeah.
Elliot's time travel.
Yes.
Yeah.
When?
He goes back and sees Colton and has that whole father-son moment.
Okay, well then whatever. I take it back. I thought the whole thing was only the Landry family.
No, remember we had a big problem when that happened. We were like, this scene's really good, but now it just ruins everything.
Hey, by the way, I think this is unlikely, but there's also a chance that Casey is dead. And which is why she didn't come up from the pond. I think that's 0.1%. But
I love that. We're back, baby. If Casey just jumps in and is dead somehow, what a show, what a move.
Dan, what'd you think?
So what weirdly, I think Ryan and I feel the same about this episode, and Brian to a certain extent. But I think he's just going to come off a lot kinder because I'm not looking at this like an episode of Law and Order. I think the problem is that Ryan doing the vacuum thing is great. Like an episode of Law and Order, like they solved the whatever, great, and move on to the next one. In a vacuum, I agree with most all of Ryan's points. The way that I have described this in my notes, which I did not have to email to myself, is this.
Hey, easy.
For the last 3 weeks, they have created an actual like a firestorm, like a dumpster fire, like a show that doesn't make sense, isn't compelling, isn't good, and is like disrespecting their own actors. And the last 3 weeks, particularly last week, they just poured buckets of gasoline on this thing. This week did not add anything to that flame. This week continued forward with the flame as is. And that is a very minor victory for this show. Does it make sense? No. Am I very, very concerned at what the payoffs could possibly be? Yes. Are the 1800s still a thorn in all of our sides?
Yes.
Yes. Are the 1970s still a thorn in all of our sides? Yeah, I think so. But I will say it was much more compelling than the last 3 weeks. And I'm working on something that's giving me life personally that I know won't be true, but it helps me try to make this show work, and it's Dell as the villain. That, for me, like, she's pulling all the strings on, I'm going to go to the pond with you. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Like, somehow she lost her kid and her husband, and she's been trying to fix it since the beginning. I don't know how that works. I don't think it does work for a number of reasons. It doesn't. If you had a board up, it would ruin any sort of thread of anything that you had. But the idea that one woman has spent the remainder of her life not being a good mom, not being a good grandma, not being a good farmer, like almost losing her farm because she is so hell-bent on fixing something from the past that can't be fixed is the original premise of this show. And I love that premise. And so I want that. And so if Ryan's metric is we're theorizing again, then I have to give this show credit for making me theorize again. But make no mistake, we're not on track. We're not back, baby. We're not even near back, baby. But we didn't get worse. We didn't get further away from it than we were last week. So I guess there's that. I like that's the best I've got though.
Yeah. So was it that Elliot was able to time travel with a lantern?
No. He
went
just
on
goes
his own?
by himself back to the farm, has
Because
a
I'm
moment with
Googling
Colton.
this, and everything that I'm looking up is saying that it's the Flynn factor. That he had the only time he was able to travel was with Kat.
I believe in this episode they said he went with Kat, but I wasn't factoring in the Flynn of it all.
Yes,
There's the Flynn factor, of course. Yeah. I think they've also like done a pretty like, you know, they have, don't we see that Evelyn travels in the pond? Doesn't she jump
she
in and
doesn't.
not come up?
Pond,
No,
right?
and
We don't
that's
technically-
why Alice doesn't jump in after Casey, because if she does, then there's a Landry in the pond.
What you're saying is that not that Casey can't be a whatever because they time travel, but they have to now the rule is they have to time travel with a Landry? That's the first I've heard of that.
No, that's the only way that somebody who's not a Landry can time travel is with a
That's
Landry.
literally the Flynn factor. This is the first I've heard of this. Like, we've never talked about this. When Elliot
Wasn't there a whole, this is Elliot's whole theory.
Elliot time traveled, and when he time traveled, we went, I guess it's not just the Landrys. Like, we said that, and then we've not talked about, we just said, okay, I guess other people can time travel on this show.
I'd have to go back and look at it.
Yeah.
Because
All right,
my
season 2
understanding...
rewatch.
No, in the show, they may have said something. I'm talking about on Deck the Hallmark. The only thing we've talked about is, well, Elliot can time travel. Guess there's that. We've not talked about the Flynn factor.
It is possible. Sorry, Dan. It is possible that last season we spent too much time on Colton as horse and not enough time on Flynn factor.
But if Colton is horse, the Flynn factor's all up in the air.
It.
Yeah.
Flynn's the dog, by the way.
The Flynn
it's
factor.
the dog. It's
the Flynn factor. Because Flynn has been time traveling, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The dog did.
The dog did. And so he doesn't have any Landry blood in him.
Related to Landry, though.
He's related to Landry. He's related to Landry. Not by blood. He's the dog.
No, I want to say it was the dog went in after Jacob, and that's why the dog was able to
The Flynn factor.
The Flynn factor.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Coming this fall on CBS.
That's exactly
Flynn
right.
factor.
And that is a show you can take in a vacuum. Like, if you like the case Flynn solving that week, great. If you don't, then just give a mulligan for next week.
It's a Flynn factor.
That's right.
Let's get to all the feels where we talk about what this episode gave us feels. Ryan.
Yeah, so I thought the murder she wrote scene between Dell and I have her name here, Rita, was very fun and lively. And I'd like that to be the feel of the show more often going forward. I will also say, and this is simultaneously fun and horrifying, that there is an outside chance that the ultimate red herring of that scene is Rita, as I have written here.
We know Rita. We know. You don't have to. We know. We love Rita.
She's typically at the Lobster Social.
Brand couldn't talk about Rita enough.
No.
It's unbelievable.
But if Rita is saying it's the person you least expect, if Rita ends up being the big bad,
man.
I almost would applaud the show.
That's like one of those movies that came out after Sixth Sense that had a twist ending in it. You know, there was just like 1,000 of them. It's like you just give them credit for doing it, just being so obvious about it.
People love twists.
I love it.
They love twists.
They love the twist.
I have never been so excited. And that's probably not true, but I haven't been this excited in a while watching this show than when Del said, I'm going to jump in the pond.
I was ready.
I've never been so excited and never been more disappointed to see Jacob walk through the door.
That's why I think she's the villain.
You think so?
Yeah.
I was very excited when Del said that. And I got to be honest, I think I will, and I'm putting it on the record, be disappointed if Del doesn't at least attempt time travel this season without any sort of explanation. I think she's beginning, the pump has been primed,
but
she's beginning
is
to.
she a Landry because she married in? Because that was the whole thing earlier. It's like maybe she can't because she's not a Landry.
Yeah, but if she's going with
Flynn Factor.
Yeah.
Flynn Factor. Now.
Flynn Factor. Joe Rogan hosts that show too. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I'm interested in that. And so I hope that we see that by the end of the season. Dan?
Yeah, that was mine. Is for a brief moment, I thought Del was going to time travel, and then my feels from excitement to anger pretty quick. It's a pretty quick turn of, oh, isn't that convenient? A convenient turn of events that brought Jacob back home so she doesn't have to do the thing that would either make all of this make sense or make it all topple like a house of cards. So there's that. That's all I've got.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the way what and the
Sink or swim.
Sink or swim. Yeah,
There's just too many of these.
It's too many shows.
Chicken of the week.
Now you're talking. Thank the Lord.
Right.
Aaron, you're normally pretty smart. You got any thoughts on Flynn Factor?
Normally pretty smart.
Like in regards to
like a backhanded
no,
compliment.
she always remembers stuff.
From time to time, you're stupid, Aaron, but normally you're pretty smart.
75%
Well,
of
I
the time,
think you
really
all-
correct.
80+% of the time.
Yeah. Yes. You got any thoughts on Flynn Factor?
I think you're smart all the time, Aaron.
Thanks, Dan.
Me too, Aaron.
Thanks, Rye. Flynn is the dog.
Yeah. So she doesn't have any thoughts.
So that's
on Flynn.
good.
She doesn't have any thoughts on Flynn Factor.
I have not seen any of season 3.
Good for you.
Whoa!
Good for you.
Wow.
No
Good
Flynn
for
Factor.
What have you done with that 7 hours? Like,
I have been watching Shrinking.
Oh, my God.
I've been
Best
rewatching
show on
Righteous
television.
Gemstones.
Yes.
Um,
Fantastic.
Reading.
Did you watch the last High Potential yet?
Ye-
The finale of the season. It came out 2 days ago.
The last one? No, I saw the one. Oh, okay, good. Okay, well, I'm leaving right now. Brand, the rest of this episode is
Well, we
on
got to
you.
do Flynn Factor first.
We do Flynn Factor first.
Nope, I have to go watch High Potential.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so I've been trying to stay on top of. I mean, I'm only 1 week behind. I'm staying on top of current shows.
Had Bones feels for sure
Um,
in the finale.
and
of
you know
High
what?
Potential.
Yeah, I've read 16 books so far this year. So
All
you
right,
know
we'll
what?
stop bragging.
The Way Home just isn't my priority. We'll see
No,
how it goes,
it
and then maybe I'll
shouldn't be.
binge the whole thing in a day. I've got Philo with that Hallmark Plus add-on.
Yeah,
so
shout out.
Shout out
There we go.
philo.tv/DTH.
Nailed
So maybe
pretty
I'll
smart.
get there.
Yeah. She's smart all the time, right?
All the time.
but-
I told you.
I, know.
I don't-
I was
I don't-
unconvinced.
I
Let's.
don't
Like
have a-
like normally you don't read well.
Yeah.
hey, real quick though, to everyone mad at the three of us for our takes on this show this year, at least we're watching it, unlike Aaron Shea.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Rye Guy, what do you think about watching Mission Impossible movies this summer for Friday episodes?
I love it. I just don't know what the alliteration would be.
Mission Mondays, but it's on Fridays.
Mission Mondays isn't bad though. I think Alonzo would understand. We move him to Fridays.
Move him to Friday.
Festive Fridays.
Oh, Festive Fridays, Mission Mondays?
How we not been doing this for a while? How we not been doing this for a while?
There's two reasons that
There
I'm,
was no Fast Mondays.
there's two reasons I can't get the Mission
Forced
Impossible
Monday?
idea out of my
Forced.
head. Number one, Brand's not seen them all. That's number one. And then
Yeah,
number two,
no-brainer.
we're getting into a new space here in a few months, a new studio for us that will have a theater room in it with surround sound. And I just feel like those movies in a theater room make too much sense.
And we're flying Rye down to watch those with us.
I would fly him down once. I'd fly him down
Well,
once.
here's the third reason it's
marathon.
intriguing. I don't know if it's possible, but it is possible that the three of us could link up for the newest one, and then we would be able to do that review in real time.
Yeah.
I don't know if the math works on that.
Well, it's
depending
that
on
one's
when we
coming out
started.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I thought it was July. Then
No,
it's not possible.
No, it's coming out May 25th.
Yeah.
That one's not happening. I looked that up. I did think about that.
But we could you could come down. We record for a couple days all the Mission Impossible episodes, and then end it with that, and then it comes out when it comes out.
Yeah. No, that's true. If you can carve out 4 days, we'll bring you down. We'll do them all live. Say we won't. You can that new place. You can actually sleep there. We got a whole setup.
Let's talk about that offline.
Let's talk about it all. I'll take your answer off the air.
There's a bathroom just for you.
That's right. It's true.
Oh, I would. Well, we would have to carve out an extra day or two for that.
Well, that's why I said 4 days. I actually thought we could do it all in 3, and then I was like, well, let's make it 4. Let's make it 4.
It's for the best.
I mean, I just want to see you guys.
Yeah,
let's
same.
get to the Wait
And
What's. It's where we
Normally.
normally
just wanna
when
see
you're
you all.
smart.
Yeah.
Let's get to the Wait What's. It's where we talk about what in this episode. Let's go. Wait, what? Ryan?
Did we ever see Sam with Casey?
No.
It was a walk by. It was a quick
Okay,
walk by.
there it is.
When?
Last
2
season?
episodes ago.
Oh, I didn't think Casey's been in this season at
She
all.
hasn't been in this
So
show
I
since the
think
season premiere.
it was a double. I'm almost fairly confident
The
on it.
double.
We definitely see
almost
Sam.
fairly. So
we-
you're not very confident at all.
No, well, I know that
I'm poorly confident.
I am poorly confident that it was a double. It's definitely Sam, and it's the back of someone's head. And Dell goes, "Why is Sam with Casey?" The intern. That's what.
I'll take your word for it. I did not.
If you want to
recall
see
it.
the scene, it's in the. You could go back to the beginning of this episode. They show it in the previously on.
All right,
There
well,
it
at least
is.
we're using the previously on better.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing it.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
No, I was you right. They're doing it. They're doing the thing we asked them to do.
Yeah. So hey, listen, we can't complain too much. I forgot that Nick knew about the pond. And it really
I forgot that too.
Yeah.
It really becomes diminishing returns
What?
at a certain point that it's just listen, I know that this is me lover of all things fantasy and spandex suits fighting people in rubber monster suits.
Mother monsters. Yes.
I've heard it both ways. But at a certain point, if multiple people found out that there's a time traveling pond, wouldn't that just change your life forever?
Yeah.
Like Nick is talking about gong shows and boats last week.
Yeah.
He knows that there's a pond that's capable of time travel. I don't know if you two agree with me or not on this, but I feel like as few people as possible should know this pond is capable of what it's capable of.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you, and I also think the use of Nick is pretty indicative of why this show isn't very good right now.
This is it, by the way. That's Casey and Sam walking.
Okay,
by the
so
way.
that
does
does
look like
Casey.
Casey.
It
Does look like Casey, not a double. That's why I said I
Yeah.
was poorly
Yes.
confident.
Yeah, we in the first season of this show, Ryan, to make your Wait What even pop more, which it popped plenty by itself. You're good enough. I want to be clear, but in the first season of The Way Home, anyone that encountered this pond, their lives were changed forever, right? So Elliot's his whole story is predicated upon he's the only person in 1999 that knows that Alice is from the future and the pond causes this, and it wrecks the next however long his life is because he knows what's going to happen and he's there keeping that secret. We have gotten to a point with this show where there are so many characters and their only job is to be placed to move something else somewhere. That's bad television. If Nick knows about the pond, it would consume him. It would consume, even the person that's not interested is going to not just pop in once every 10 episodes to go, "What's up, bro? You want to grab a beer?" That's not going to happen. And this show used to have some sort of through line of, you know about the pond now, how does that affect your life? It changes everything. And now it does not. It just doesn't have that. It's basically not a secret. And Nick, remembering that Nick knows about it is that's a huge problem. I'm 100% with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So at one point, Jacob, Thomas, and Susanna are all talking openly about the major plot points with Cyrus and all this. And Cyrus is in the next room and the door is open.
It's as bad as Jacob in the wide open space with a pistol last week.
and he wasn't even wearing a hat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
And so that really bothered me. And then last one, I've been hard on Kat and Elliot, and I know that they have a real strong contingent of support, but she didn't even really care.
She didn't.
When she at first, I've never seen this in television. In real life, at first she was like, he's like, well, Emma kissed me, and she's like, well, you can't control that. And I'm like, wow. Is that like a thing that
super chill?
Sheesh.
is that a way people react in real life or even in fake life? But then even when he said, no, I kissed her back, she was like, all right, well, maybe we take a night here. Like, maybe we reset. And
I'm pretty sure Kat said, well, I don't love that.
Like, Kat's
I don't love that. I'll be honest.
Kat's inner monologue when Elliot said that she kissed him was, thank God I'm taking the next flight to Pond to Thomas.
100%.
Like, thank God. Like that, thank God that I can get out of this weird thing that I'm in where I live with this dude and I clearly don't like him at all and the chemistry's been off for weeks. Thank God.
Kat telling Thomas that she was here to talk to Susanna. Baloney.
Thought you were going for it.
Baloney. You don't have any desire to see Susanna. You're there to lock lips with Tomo.
Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me.
That's right.
I'm
here. I'm there to lock lips with Tomo. That's what I'm here for.
You can
luckily Tomo was out in the woods.
You can buy our I'm Here to Lock Lips with Tomo shirt. It's on our website. Tomo. Oh, shop. I'm sorry. I thought I got it soon. My bad. I'm sorry.
I mean, I can make it. It's just
I had one last additional point, but I can't top Tomo. So, Brian, it's all you.
Well, no,
go ahead, Raga.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that what's frustrating is that a couple weeks ago, remember the episode where he wanted to keep cleaning up the milk?
Yeah,
That episode was all about how the relationship had hit a rut, and then they got steamy again. And everyone was saying that it should only be on Hallmark Plus. But then for whatever reason, the week after that and every week since, we've just taken 25 steps back, and now they're just meant to be like nothing about the relationship, either narratively or just what we've seen and the context of the story makes a lot of sense.
Listen, there is a thing in television, and I don't remember what it's called, and I bet Aaron, who's always smart, knows what it's called, but where if you get the lead couple together too early, it ruins the television program. It's called the show is moonlighting. They call it the Flynn factor, the moonlighting effect. Let's call it. And I believe with 100% certainty that the makers of The Way Home are trying to avoid the moonlighting effect, as I'm going to call it. That's not what it is. The moonlighting effect is something completely different. What is it? Go back up. What is it? Which means negative effects on employees, their employers, and their personal well-being. That's what Bram was moonlighting Aaron earlier.
Yes.
By saying that.
I knew we were going.
That I knew she's normally gaslighting.
We map all this out ahead of time.
Moonlighting curse. The moonlighting curse is what we're looking for, I believe, if we keep going down. Is that correct?
I want to get ahead of this. I want to say I knew where we were going. I wanted to showcase the various forms of moonlighting.
Of course, that's why I did that. You got it. It was very good.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% certain that they know they want Elliot and Kat to end up together, and so they're doing this thing like a lot of shows have done for years and years of like finding obstacles and reasons they can't be together. Like Ross and Rachel being a great example in Friends, like getting them together, and then now all of a sudden Rachel's interested in Joey for some reason, and Ross, yeah, I would love for you to speak to that.
The creators have said Ross and Rachel were never supposed to end up together. They end up together in the end. They don't end up together officially until like the very end of the finale, simply for fan service.
Yeah. What's wild about that is since that's now canon, at some point, Crane and Marta and the whole gang over there, Kaufman, I believe, had to decide people want this and we have to do it.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself should tell you a better model than either getting them together too early or not having them together at all. So I'm 100% convinced that Kat and Elliot are going to end up together. And I think that's bad. I think it's terrible. And I think it's even worse that they're trying to do what they're doing right now. But Kat and Elliot don't have it. They don't have it. Even when they were all steamy, it wasn't great. So I just, it's clearly her and Thomas. I'm 100% with you.
You talked about Cyrus being in the other room. Cyrus walks in, and Cyrus is like this close to being in his emo era. Like I thought My Chemical Romance was going to kick on.
Coming out of my
his
cave.
hair is so funny. It's just like, hey guys, it's me, Cyrus. Let's not bum everybody out. It's very funny, and I don't really know what.
That's exactly what I was going to sing, Rye Guy. It's unbelievable.
He said it's a panic. There's a panic at the disco, and there's nothing we can do about it. A really tough couple days for Dell, who in the span of 24 to 48
taking
hours
it on the chin here, yeah,
is told by her daughter, hey, I'm responsible for the death of your husband. And then told by her granddaughter, no, I'm actually responsible for the death of
We all teamed in to kill Colton.
Boom, boom.
That's right.
Whiplash. Man, that is a tough couple days to find out that literally everyone you love was responsible for the death of your husband. That's tough. That's a tough couple days, I will say. And it made me want to jump in the pond. At least to give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Everybody's doing it. Last but not least, Jacob goes and is having this conversation with Elliot for I don't know why, but he picks up this clock and he's like, man, me and Dad always used to mess around with things like this and fix them. Can you imagine fixing a clock with your 7-year-old? Because that's how old Jacob was 7 years old. Now, my boy just turned 7, and we love doing Legos and whatnot. Clocks are so little tiny,
super intricate.
And yes, it'd be an absolute disaster. Shout out Jacob and Colton fixing clocks. Me and my dad, we used to do clocks.
We did
it was
clocks,
a thing that
is
we
what we
did. Me at 7 and him adult. Dan,
out at Lingermore, I can only describe this secret door as the least secret door of all time. I know that we've talked about it multiple weeks. But after this week and then finding the poster in there again, and then I believe it was Max Goodwin going, how'd you know that was there? Guys, the door is in the wide open.
It's also not a door.
It's not a door. But it is so clearly something that opens in broad daylight. And for it to be a hiding place for anything valuable is crazy. But back in the 1800s, they opened up that secret not a door again, and their version of the poster is from Walmart. They tried to get by with not having the real painting in there. Look at that thing closely. The camera doesn't zoom in on it in the 1800s. It's a mess. Our boy Nick, who knows about the pond but remains unfazed because he's just a bro. I think Nick's solution to any problem is, what if we go grab some beers? I have enough evidence, I think.
And karaoke.
Yeah. I'm including karaoke in the what if we go grab some beers. But I am convinced that even as an 18-year-old, his version of fixing anything is what if we get out of here and go grab some beers? I think that's all he has to offer. It's time travel's a problem. What if we grab a couple of brewskis? Your ex-wife's in town. Bro, is it beer time? Is it beer 30? We got to get Elliot and Kat back together. A couple of beers and karaoke. There has to be another thing that this character can do aside from show up to be like, what if we go out to the bar for a couple of drinks? That can't be the limit of what he's capable of doing. But it certainly looks like he's hitting on Alice, and that is not okay. He's going out for beers, and then he's hitting on a 17-year-old. Their looks and their interactions together, kind of creepy, right?
There's no way he's not buying his time.
There's no way he's not buying his time.
That's what he's doing.
It is a disturbing situation that's brewing here in The Way Home Season 3, and I hate it. I hate it so very much. Why would we possibly need to know that Dell left Colton on the day that Nixon resigned as president?
Canada.
In Canada. Why? The wait what is not the timestamp. The wait what is, of all the ways, they're already in 70s clothes, kind of, and there's 70s cars, and we know it's the 70s because you've told us it's the 70s. And then they throw in that while this big dramatic moment is happening, Nixon is resigned from office. Why do we, please tell, I almost hope there's not a reason for it, but why do we need to know that information? Why do we need in our heads to timestamp, oh, this is when Nixon leaves? and it's happening the same time that Del is leaving Colton. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Canada was never the same.
Canada was never the same. Never the
Forever
same.
changed.
Nobody ever remembers any time traveler, but Jacob, once again, he's undefeated. He sees a picture and he's like, oh, that's the boy who made us plant the things. I'm glad that he can do it and nobody else can. That's also the Flynn effect. It's a Flynn factor. Different reason though.
Did you say the flan effect?
And the flan effect is a different thing altogether. I will say that the Flynn factor is just a theory though, right? Like no one said that that's true yet on the show. Like,
I'm gonna have
that is a theory as to why Elliot can travel and not be a Landry, right? That's not
They tested it though,
but
and it
they
worked.
But they've not. So
He jumped in
It
before.
hasn't been labeled
Yeah.
that on the show.
it hasn't been established as this is
No,
definitely.
he has a full. It's
That's
his
right.
theory. Yes.
Okay, yeah, but like there's still a chance that Casey jumped into pond, did time travel, is not Landry. Yes.
At the moment, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She
Great.
may be Goodwin.
All right.
Yes.
My thing about Casey is, and the wait what of this is purely the filmmaking and the show making of this show. You know, whenever if we knew Casey was a time traveler, right? Like from the first
had
time
we clocked it immediately.
the first time they showed up in the archives, Casey's a time traveler. We all said it here. It was like, I don't think it was supposed to be that obvious. So the reveal that they're a time traveler, underwhelming to say the least. And that's fine. At least they got it out of the way. And so we can start to unravel what Casey's deal is and why they're time traveling. So happy they did it, but we all knew it. Since we know that they're a time traveler, their interactions with everyone should be very similar to how Alice interacted when she went back in 1999. Kat interacted when she went back and into 18, 14, 16, took a little trip, whatever it was. But instead, especially in this episode, I can't believe that the person playing Casey is a bad actor. The way that they act is like not, it doesn't, Casey's been in 2024, 25 long enough to fit in and be bought as someone from that era. Why are their interactions with everyone so incredibly like conspicuous and auspicious and just like not natural at all? Like, why is that when Alice finds a way to fit in 1999 and fit in 1973 and Kat finds a way to fit in the 1800s? Casey's been here for on and off traveling for months, a year. How had they not figured out how to not be suspicious? Kat and Alice did it, no problem. Casey is the last scene that we see Casey in is one of the more awkward, what's this ring, run I've ever seen. Why is that? Why can we not write a more, I don't know. Did that not stick out? It just didn't feel competent to me at all. Anybody else with me or no?
No.
By and large, it would have probably helped if we didn't clock it a season and a half ago now. And also if she had been in more episodes.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen this character.
They've been gone all season, and that made it worse.
So like they show up and now I don't even really have an impression of what they were talking about the last time they were really in the show, not the double notwithstanding. So the fact that they have no game whatsoever in terms of lying is not ideal. No.
Not ideal. Fair.
Let's get to the sink or swim. It's where we talk about what's important. What we're sinking and what we're swimming and all that good stuff. Right, guy?
Listen, I was positive at the start of the show. I gave a thumbs up to the episode. There was a moment here about halfway through the episode where I was just like, and I know we've talked about this before, so I don't want to be too redundant, but man, what a miss this whole Jacob storyline is. Like, it was the scene where him and Thomas are on the beach in the 1800s, which I didn't even necessarily think was that bad of a scene, but it was just like, I was just like, man, every single decision I would have made about this character, they did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Which again doesn't mean that I'm so smart.
Starting with
and that
shaving
my
the beard.
ideas were, that my ideas were great. But it just when you look at the context of where we were in season 1 to where we are now, I'm just like, it's kind of crazy that like these are the decisions that we made. And I think it goes a long way as to why I have not enjoyed is how you would say that.
Disenjoyed. You disenjoyed
I
it.
disenjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Flynn factor at work right there.
You're not dis smart, you know?
Yeah. Hey, don't you moonlight me, man. Yeah, I just the Jacob situation's a bummer for me. I won't bring it up again, but there was, for whatever reason, this week I was just like, man, there's so many different ways we could have handled this, and none of those are what happened, and that's a shame.
It's fair.
Yeah,
it's a fair sink there.
Yeah.
I am swimming with Sam, and boy, isn't that a dream. But
per capita.
Sam,
Per capita, no kidding.
best looking guy
For his age per capita.
for his age per capita.
No question.
Come at me, bro. But the way that he responded to Dell when it like the weird pushback, they did a really good job with the particular the way that he responded in regard to the notes that they've been getting, and like, hey, maybe it is Sam that's doing this thing, and that's interesting. The way that he responded was so interesting that when they first said it's Sam, it was like, well, now it's definitely not Sam. But then Sam responded in such a way, I was like, well, maybe it is. Like, maybe Sam's not such a good guy. So I'm interested. I've always been interested in Sam, and I think I've made that abundantly clear. But very interested in Sam, Casey, that combo. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it all, but very intrigued by it. And I thought that they actually did a really good job of leading me to be even more curious about that than I already was. Dan?
Yeah, I'll have both. I'm syncing that whole story, not the same storyline. I'm syncing the letters to Dell mystery storyline in general, because I have no faith in it at all of it mattering or it making sense. And I just find that is something in season 1 that we'd have been talking about nonstop. And this is the first mention of it in maybe, I don't know, all season. None of us would be like, who's sending the letters? None of us care. Clearly none of us care because we've not talked about it. I'm syncing that whole storyline. I'm swimming Dell as villain, though. It won't make any sense. It wouldn't make any sense at all.
Zero.
But you know what? The show doesn't make any sense as is. So if we've already got
what's the play there? Like what
Dell
villain?
Dell has spun herself in circles, doing everything she can to get her kid back and to get her husband back. And it doesn't matter what she does. It never ends up that way. Getting her daughter back home, waiting to send that letter, getting her granddaughter to go. She is time traveled so much trying to fix it. And now she's just angry. She's just angry, and she wants everybody else to experience her anger. That is the best I have. It doesn't make any sense, but you're not doing anything with Dell that makes sense right now. The idea that Dell didn't know about that pond, and now that she does know about it and still hasn't gone down to jump in the godforsaken pond is crazy. It's crazy. But if she is now pulling all the strings because she's time traveled so much and nothing's worked, and she spent, whatever it is, hundreds of lifetimes, whatever that movie is. Now I can't think of it off the top of my head. Like, I spent all of these lifetimes trying to fix this, and I just couldn't ever do it. That is something that rings true to what the show originally was. So that's what I'm swimming.
The only problem, it probably could have worked up until that scene a few weeks ago where she's talking to Ghost Colton, and
she said, "I swear I didn't know anything about the pond."
Yeah, I mean, it's like they.
Why would you lie to Ghost Colton?
Yeah, they
Horse
probably could have. They probably could have made it work without.
Yeah,
it still would have been a big stretch, but. Why would she be saying with no one else in the room and no doors open?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
none.
Yeah.
Zero. But it's the best I've got.
Unless Colton not Ghost. And she didn't want him to know that she actually does know and has
but
gone.
Dan hates that scenario because then Colton can travel past his death.
That's right.
Let's just
now
play,
I'm out. Now
Let's
I'm out.
just play.
Flynn
While we're playing, we might as well play.
What if Flynn is horse?
Playing.
I love that the idea is that you can only travel through time with a Landry, and that includes dogs. Yes. It includes dogs that jump in not at the same time but afterwards.
Right after.
So what's this time on that? Do you have a stopwatch out?
It's a 5-second rule.
It's a 5-second rule. Cat
Probably
jumps in, you got 5
5,
seconds
right?
to jump in. Is that what we're in on 5 second? It's a 5-second Flynn factor.
Yeah. I think I can probably find the journal entry that they showed, and we can just really take a gander at it.
Great.
Because I bet that they did put something like 5 seconds or something. 5-second rule. We did, everybody. Congratulations to us. So guess what? Let's do it again next week.
I love that.
Still got
plan.
a few more weeks. Three
Three
more
left.
Fs. So come on back. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, we're the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark is a Bramble Jam podcast. Is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.